Okay, once again, this is Ray Edwards from learncopy.com, and we are now looking at part 2 of Monroe's motivated sequence. This time we are looking at applying the motivated sequence to different market segments. And like any other kind of a law, there is an ideal situation, and of course there are situations where you have to adjust the laws and the principles to match that particular situation. And that is what we have here as well too. In part 1, we looked at Monroe's motivated sequence, and without taking into consideration that your prospects may be at different places with regard to their predisposition towards buying your product, and that is what we're going to take time now to investigate. Okay, now all of your prospects are not going to have the same relationship and attitude towards your proposed solution. So what we can do is that we can segment your target market into 4 quadrants depending on your prospect's predisposition towards your proposed solution. And here we have a quadrant showing the different places in which your prospect may lie. In section 1, we have here the prospects may be favorable to you, meaning that they might be for your product strongly. They are strongly for your product. So they might be familiar with you, have bought from you before. These are customers you would have, for example, on your customer list. These are basically your fans. Okay, so the product might be new to them, but basically they are for you because they have bought from you in the past. Okay, so these would be your favorable prospect. They are for you and strongly so. Now in quadrant number 2 here, there are prospects who are for you but weakly so. In other words, then maybe they have bought a product that is similar to the one that you are selling, and but they do not know much about you, they do not know much about your product, and therefore we refer to these as the uninformed prospects. So they are likely to buy from you, but they do not know much about you and know much about your products, and so we can say they are for you but in a weak way. Okay, then we come to quadrant number 3 here. And in this quadrant, we have prospects who are basically against your proposed solution, but weakly so. So we can refer to these as the apathetic prospects. You know, it's almost as though they're neither here nor there, but you know they're not likely, to buy from you. Okay, and then we come to our final quadrant here, quadrant number 4, where you have a prospect who is basically strongly against your proposed solution. They're strongly against your proposed solution. And therefore, the approach that you would use for someone, for example, who is favorable towards your solution would be quite different to the one for someone who is opposed to your solution. So the whole idea here is that once you're able to assess your target market and you're able to assess where in this quadrant, where in these 4 different sections of the quadrant most of your prospects lie, then you can adjust the sequence in order to match each of these different scenarios, okay, each of these different situations. So then you must be able to adjust your approach for each audience segment, and sometimes for more than one segment in the same letter. You then have to adjust each step in the Monroe's motivated sequence to address each scenario. For example, the sales message you send to your customers and a warm list will be different to the sales letter you send to a cold list. Another example would be selling burial plots will take a different approach to selling financial services. So again, the attitude and predisposition towards your product that your prospects may have would go a long way to determining how you would use the Monroe motivated sequence. Okay, so let's first consider those in the first quadrant. Okay, let's first consider those in the first quadrants. And these are your favorable prospects. The favorable prospect is someone who is strongly in favor of your product. And as we go through the sequence, you're going to realize that there's not a lot of adjustments that you have to do with regard to the Monroe motivated sequence. There are a lot of adjustments that you have to make. Okay, but let's take them one by one anyway. Okay, so for the first step, for someone who is, favorable, for the favorable prospect, in your attention step, here you have to intensify the interest. Now note here that this person is already interested. They are on your side. They are favorable towards you, and therefore, to make sure that your marketing message therefore is not boring, because it's almost like they know what you're going to talk about before you even talk about it. It means therefore you'll have to find some way to intensify the interest. And to intensify the interest, one way is which you can do this, you can use vivid illustrations, or even a challenge the person to go higher than they have gone before. Okay, so this might be a case where someone have bought your $20 product, and now you want to bump them up, to a coaching program. They already have an idea from the product that they bought already, what your coaching program, is going to be based on. But now you have to, justify, why they need to go to the coaching program. Okay, so in this case, you have to intensify the interest and use vivid illustrations, or even challenge them to go further than they've gone before. Then you have to show new aspects of the problem. Let them know that your $20 product didn't really solve all of their problems. There's still certain aspects of the problem that has not been solved as yet. Okay, and that is how you would address the Monroe's motivated sequence pattern in the attention step. Okay, next we go to the need step. In this case, you have to make the problem impressive, agitate the problem. Again, here is someone who is already familiar, okay, with the problem. Okay, they're already familiar with the problem, and it means therefore them that you have to agitate it a little more. Show the problem is a little deeper than they thought originally. Again, you can use vivid images and a startling disclosure. Again, you're trying to get the interest of someone who already has knowledge about this solution. So you really have to go overboard in order to startle them, in order to get their attention again. Then you arouse, personal responsibility for what they already know. Let them know, okay, I understand that you know this already, but are you doing something about it? Okay, you already are aware of this particular solution, but are you really taking full advantage of this particular situation? Okay, so that would be what we'll do for the need step. Then for the satisfaction step, you simply state your plan for a solution. In this case, you can be brief, again, because they already have some knowledge about this solution, so you can afford to be brief. And then you don't need to argue. Okay, there's no need for you to argue because they're already on your side. Okay, so you don't need to argue. You can simply affirm, knowing that they're already on your side. But what you can do though is challenge and command if it is appropriate. In this case, again, if I go back to my illustration of the $20 product that you have sold, maybe an ebook, and now you want to challenge them towards a coaching program, then in this case, you need to challenge them to go a little further than they've gone before, or even command them, okay, if you find that that's appropriate. So that would be our satisfaction step. Then we come to our visualization step. Again, you state your plan for the solution. Again, you can be brief. You don't have to argue in this case. And here you can challenge or even command if the conditions warrant this. Okay, so you can see therefore then that this is very similar to the satisfaction step. Not a lot of changes there. Now on the action step, you ask the prospects to go beyond their good intentions. Okay, so they're already favorable towards your product, but now you want to let them know that good intentions are not enough. Okay, so you have to stress their individual responsibility to themselves or maybe to their families, that they need to go a step further, and they need to kick it up a notch, and state specifically what each person can do and how they can go about it. Okay, so you still have to explain what they need to do in order to go a step further. Okay, so that's the adjustment that you'll have to make, okay, for the Monroe's motivated sequence pattern for those persons in quadrant number 1. Now let's go now to quadrant number 2, and these are for those persons who are for you, or for your solution, or for your product, but weakly so. Okay, they are for you, but they are weakly so. In other words, then they are uninformed. You can regard them as being uninformed prospects. In other words, then if they knew a lot more than they know now about your solution, they might be strongly for you. Okay, so we can say that these prospects are favorable towards your product, but weakly so. Now, what adjustments do we have to make in the sequence in this case? Well, at the attention step, we need to focus on the basic elements of the problem. Notice that these persons are uninformed, so we cannot assume that they know too much. So we have to focus on the basic elements of the problem. Then we need to narrow the definition, use historical data. We have to make sure that we are clear and not dull, because you are trying to get the interest. You're trying to drum up the interest of these prospects. Okay. Now, in the need step, we need to demonstrate the basic causes of the problem. Again, you're doing a lot of educating. So you have to demonstrate the basic causes of the problem, and you need to make your prospect aware that the problem actually exists and why it exists. Again, all of these steps, you notice that you're doing a lot of information. You're doing a lot of educating the customer about the problem, and educating the customer also about the need to have the problem solved. Now, in the satisfaction step, we can demonstrate how your plan is the best solution. Okay, then you can explain. Again, notice that we are doing a lot of explanation and educating. You're going to explain your plan, offering proof of your solution using factual examples and expert testimony, because this prospect has a lot of persuading to be done in order for them to come to the position where they are going to accept your solution. Okay, now in the visualization step, again, very similar to the satisfaction step, you have to demonstrate how your plan is the best solution. You need to do some explanation of your plan, offering the proof of your solution using factual examples and expert testimony. Again, very similar to that of the satisfaction step. Then finally, we come to the action step. And here we have to call for a specific and reasonable action. Okay, so maybe this person may not be ready to go for the coaching program, but maybe they will buy the $20 ebook product. Okay, so call for a specific and reasonable action, because you're now going in basically in steps, and state specifically how the prospect might help themselves in order to find a solution to whatever that problem is. So note that the theme that runs through this particular quadrant is, and this segment of your market is, you have a lot of educating to do and you have a lot of convincing to do for this particular prospect. Okay, now let's go on to our third quadrant, and here now we have prospects who we can say they are apathetic. In other words, then they are not particularly for your product. They are basically against your product, and but weakly so. Okay, they are against your product, but they are weakly so. Maybe they have a bad experience in that particular market segment. Maybe they have tried other products and it didn't work out and so forth, but they're still new to your product. So basically they are against maybe the category that your product is in, but yet there are chances that if they knew more, they would not be against, they can be for you. Okay, so they are against your product, but they do not really have strong feelings against this product. So how do we adjust the sequence in order to address this particular segment of your market? Well, in the attention step, we need to overcome the inertia. Okay, this person is basically pushing against you, and you have to find some way of overcoming that inertia. Okay, you kind of use a startling statements and vivid illustrations. Again, this person is not keen on having you get their attention, and so you have to go a little overboard in order to get their attention. You have to, startle them by making a shocking statement, use vivid illustrations, and you need to, basically stress, key points, again, because you're trying to get this person's, attention. Now, in the need step, you need to give strong evidence of the problem. Okay, now if this person is against your solution, maybe it is because they do not have strong enough evidence that a problem really exists. Maybe they are comfortable where they are. They're not confident that your solution can make much of a difference in their lives, and so therefore you have to give particularly strong evidence that the problem does exist. So you have to use credible and powerful facts, statistics, testimonies, proofs, elements, to support your case. And then you can link the problem, with common experiences that they have. Common experiences in the sense that they cannot deny that they have those particular experiences. Okay, they might have particularly, feel, maybe if you're selling a self-help product, they might feel depressed. Some they might feel unfulfilled. Some they might feel as though, well, life can be, better for them or whatever. But the important thing here is that you have to link the problem that they're having with the common experiences. Common in the sense that they cannot really deny that they have these experiences. Okay, so again, you're trying to get them over the line. You're trying to get them from the position where they're against to the position where they are for your solution or product. Now, in the satisfaction step, you need to keep the audience interested by vividly explaining your solution. Okay, note here that you have to keep their interest, because again, they are very likely to brush off, whatever solution or that you're promising them. Okay, so you need to keep the audience interested by vividly explaining your solution. Demonstrate how your plan is the best solution, and explain your plan offering proof of your solution using factual examples and expert testimony. So here again, proof is important. In your visualization step, you are basically doing the same thing as you did in the satisfaction step. You have to keep your prospect interested by vividly explaining your solution, demonstrate how your plan is the best solution, and explain your plan offering proof of your solution using factual examples and expert testimony. Finally, we come to the action step. And here you have to call for clear and reasonable action. Reasonable action, again, is because if they are going to make a positive response to your call to action, maybe they are going to be doing it still with some doubt in their minds, and therefore make the call to action clear. Also make it reasonable. Also explain specifically how individual action leads to a broader change. Let them know that if they try your solution, they might see a change in their own situation or the problem, and let them know that even though it might not change everything for them, it might lead them to the place where they can have a broader change. Okay, then we come to our final quadrant, and here we are looking at a prospect who is strongly against. Okay, the prospect who is strongly against your your solution, your proposed solution. So they have strong feelings against your product or this solution. Now, one example of this particular category of prospects I find very common is, for example, is within the MLM, multi-level marketing or network marketing category. Okay, and so this adjustment to the Monroe's motivated sequence pattern works very well in that particular market, because here's a market that a lot of people seem to have a negative attitude towards. Maybe they have tried network marketing before and they have been burned, and they're now in the position where they have, they don't want to have to do anything, with network marketing. Okay, so if you know that you're dealing with that particular market where the cold traffic that is coming to your website might be opposed, to this method of marketing, then this works, quite well in that particular, in that particular domain. Okay, so let's see what you'll have to do. Now, first, if the person is strongly against your product or solution, then you have to secure common ground. Okay, you cannot start by emphasizing where you and the prospect are different. You have to start where both of you are common. And oftentimes, you have to do so by emphasizing the points. Okay, you have to do so by emphasizing points that you have in common. Okay, you can do so by emphasizing points where you have in common. This includes beliefs, values, and or experiences. Okay, so for example, let us look, for example, again at network marketing. You might start by saying that you might start by agreeing with the person that 95% of people who try network marketing fail. Okay, so you might start out with the negative on the market, knowing that the person would agree with you at that position. Then you might want to go on to explain why it is that 95% of these people fail, and maybe then you're able to present your own solution. Okay, so this works very well in areas where you know that the prospect might have a negative attitude towards the solution that you are proposing. So to get the person's attention, you have to start on a common ground, and you have to emphasize those points where you and the person are in agreement, whether in attitude, belief, values, or in experiences. Maybe you have been burnt before, and so you can say, I lost so much money because I thought my upline would support me, but it didn't, and so forth. And the person get the person to start nodding and say, yes, I know what you're talking about. I've been there, done that. Okay, so that's the attention step. Now the need step is that you have to overcome opposition to change. Okay, you have to overcome that opposition for the person to change. So here again, you have to acknowledge the person's counter arguments. Okay, you have to accept and acknowledge the person's counter arguments, and then you need to seek agreement on general principles. So you may not agree at this point on everything, but you can agree on a particular principle that people should be fair. That if you work hard in anything, you should be able to see a commensurate reward. So you acknowledge the counter arguments are, and you seek agreement on, now not specific but general principles. Then you can apply those principles to the specific problem. So once you get the person to nod on a general principle, then you can apply them to what a specific problem is. And again, here you have to use solid facts, okay, because this person is already in doubt, so you got to use solid facts. Now on the satisfaction step, you now have to relate the solution to the principles that you express in the need step. Okay, because remember again, this person is against your solution. So once you find a common ground, you must now tie in everything that you're going to argue afterwards with that particular common ground. So then demonstrate how your plan, is the best solution. You explain your plan, offering proof of your solution using factual examples and expert testimony. And again, you try as much as possible to highlight the common ground. Show where both of you are basically on the same page. Okay. Now in the visualization step, very similar. Again, you have to relate your solution to the principles that were expressed in the need step. Demonstrate how your plan is the best solution. Explain your plan, offering proof of your solution using factual examples and expert testimony. And again, you highlight the common ground. Okay, the same here as for this satisfaction step, okay, as we have seen before. Now finally we come to the action step. In your action step, you're going to now call again for a clear and reasonable action that does not ask the prospect, okay, it doesn't ask your prospect to do the complete opposite, okay, of their original opinion. Okay, so you're not going to ask them to do anything that would go directly against, okay, you're not going to ask them to do anything that would go against their original position or the original opinion. Okay, so you might be asking maybe to say, okay, then have a 7-day trial or have a 30-day trial free of cost and see if this solution would actually work for you. And you allow them, therefore, then in trying your product to convince themselves. Okay, but you're not going to ask them to do anything that's completely opposite of what their original opinion was. Okay, so here we see then that we have looked at all the different solutions and different quadrants. We have looked at the different solutions, how it can be applied for each different quadrant. And basically you have to access your own market. You have to assess to find out where they are, you know, in the quadrant, you know, whether they are favorable prospects or uninformed prospects, or they're apathetic prospects or opposed prospects. And depending on what the market you are in and who you are targeting, and adjust the sequence in